All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching us across the state in Nigeria. Yes, I like to open with that because I know there are quite a number of audience or what people who are watching us across the state are calling on the show. But in 2015, Nigeria, clamored for change. We got a change. In 2019, we voted and said that the change should remain for another 4 years. And 2013 is just few days away, and the election are barely 100 days away. Yeah. What are we clamoring for is what I'm asking today. Where are we putting our vote is also some of the questions we'll be asking. I will be having an answer to that. Again, I say excellent afternoon to all those who are watching us across the globe. Yes, and this is another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike. I have Dami and Marshall on the platform today. How you doing, guys? Let me start with you, Dami, because this is your bling bling skirts, and you guys don't give us memo when you want to wear the shirt.
It's as the spirit leads. As if I knew that she was going to do green and white, so I decided to put a touch of red. It's bringing us to Christmas gradually. Green, white, and red is Christmas color. Hello, everybody, from wherever you're having the opportunity to see us today. Good afternoon. It's another beautiful Tuesday, and I hope that you're going to enjoy the show with us as we are going to bring it real and precise on the table. Please stay with us. We are just started.
Yeah, spectacular ladies. It's usually very difficult to follow your leads, especially when the delectable and beautiful Kike starts off. And I look at the screen and I see how beautiful you guys are looking, and I can in no way compete with you guys. It's really very difficult. But I just find my way to just come on set and still say, welcome guys, my name is Marshall Anthony Onoye, and this is the RTWK show. I hope you'd have a wonderful time today. Stay with us.
I must have heard that is also good looking. If he's not handsome, maybe we will not have him on this
platform. Comes the man in black.
All right, guys. Exactly 27 years ago, on the 10th of November, 1995, to be precise, Ken Saro, we were, and all the 9 Ogoni people were taken from the army base where they were being held at Port Harcourt, or to Port Harcourt prison. And of course, the story comes to on this history segment, just like every other story. But let's get more juicy historical moments or events on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Exactly 27 years ago, on 10th November 1995, Ken Saro-Wiwa and the rest of the Ogoni 9 were taken from the army base where they were being held to Port Harcourt prison. They were told that they were being moved to Port Harcourt because it was feared the army base they were being held in might be attacked by Ogoni youths. Known as Ken Ubisen, Ken Saro-Wiwa, he was born 10th October 1941, and he was a Nigerian writer, television producer, and environmental activist. Ken Saro-Wiwa was a member of the Ogoni people, an ethnic minority in Nigeria, whose homeland, Ogoni land, the Niger Delta, has been targeted for crude oil extraction since the 1950s and has suffered extreme environmental damage from decades of indiscriminate petroleum waste dumping.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. Dami, let me come to you quickly. What's your take on this history segment?
Well, I think that Ken, he was born Ken Kenule Bisen Wiwa, and from what history has recorded about him, we saw that he was an activist, an active activist for the Ogoni people, for the movement for the survival of the Ogoni people, and of course we knew what the agitations were. They were actually protest against the environmental impact of extraction, from the illegal extraction by Shell and some other companies, and the damage that it had done on their land, and this was what they were fighting for. And the November 10th, 1995 was actually the day he was executed by hanging through or by the Abacha-led administration. And of course, a few of us that were alive and older then, we knew what the Abacha regime brought to Nigeria, and history has recorded it already. Abacha is gone, Wiwa is gone. Who's next? What will history record about you? But ultimately, he was a very beautiful journalist. He served his people. He loved with a passion, and he's not somebody that will be forgotten anytime soon. And that's why we're remembering him today.
Fantastic. Masha.
Well, on this day in history segment just brings to mind the fact that anything can happen to anybody. anybody can be framed. It is strongly believed that he was framed, and he and the other Ogoni aides were framed at the time. One thing that seems to be on the open right now is how he pleaded to speak with the head of state, because he believed that the head of state at that time was not going to execute him. He had struck a deal with the head of state. And then President Muhammadu Buhari in recent time, in 2001, giving clemency and saying that he would have considered clemency for Sariwiwa and the Ogoni 8 was something also to reflect on.
Yeah, a fantastic submission from you both. I think for me, the fact that he was an hero in Nigeria, a writer, a columnist, and the fact that, you know, under Abacha's regime in 1995, he was somebody, you know, who constantly fought, and he was murdered unlawfully, unjust, you know, and the fact that, yes, he was among the Ogoni people who, I think, learned person in that group that actually lent his voice, and the fact that he was, you know, murdered during the course of the fight of liberation for Nigeria is something that actually baffled me. And the fact that even before the likes of Tombolo and the likes and all of that, these are the people who actually have been fighting the cause of Nigeria and all of that. So it's unfortunate that most times history will remind of certain people, you know, who have actually laid their lives, you know. But if you look back and, you know, try to tailor it to where we are today, you know, is there any difference? Is there anything that you can say that when the our presidents are being called for help or for transparency or for orderliness, you know, in terms of, you know, trying to put the unity of the country together, you know, we still find them wanting? And that is one of the things that I just ask myself, when are we going to get a visionary leader that can end certain culture so that our children, unborn children, will not continue with the same legacy? It's just unfortunate. But quickly, let's get a message from our sponsor. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. The campaign towards 2023 election are in full gear, and of course, candidates of all political parties are all into rallies, you know, dialogues, meetings, deliberations on how to win the election in 2023. And of course, the most recent of this dialogue involved 4 parties in Abuja, which took place on the 6th of November, hosting Labour Party, PDP, and NNPP, and of course, PRP as well. In this political season, it's a conventional time to dialogue with our leaders or our leadership aspirants to know that their plans, their agenda, and how they want to implement their ideas for a new Nigeria. And would like to say also their manifesto, of course. I think, you know, there are quite a number of manifestos that I've gone through that seems very interesting to me, but let's put that aside. On the show today, we have the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party, Mr. Kola Abiola, to discuss with us his plans and the agenda of the PRP for 2023. And he has said, we are coming to the federal level with a clean state, because we are not carrying the baggage of any administration or any party. We want to use that to turn Nigeria around and fight for our people, and we're going to be hearing from the horse's mouth on the brilliant ideas that he wants to use to turn Nigerians around, of course. But before we bring him in, let's get to see his profile, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome to the show, Mr. Kola Abiola. It's a pleasure to have you on the platform today. Let me start off by saying, you know, on your mother's remembrance today, you know, I want to empathize with you. Of course, memory still lingers on our contribution to nation building. We say, may our soul continue to rest in perfect peace.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It's
you know,
30 years today.
30 years today.
And anyway,
we know.
30 years, and tomorrow is equally my daughter's 50th memorial, so it's a back-to-back difficult week for me.
May God continue to give you the strength, you know, to forge ahead. You know, just, you know, going straight to the topic at hand, you know, I want to quote you. You have never, you want us to go on a quick break?
No. It's allergies. Perfume somewhere is triggering my allergies.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have very bad allergies.
All right.
That's why I always carry this.
Oh, I see.
My eyes keep running.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Apologies about
Thank
that.
You.
Okay, you have run, you said you have never, you know, run for governor, state chairman, or local government council. Those were your words.
Absolutely.
But for the first time, you're saying that we have right here in our midst the candidates from the PRP that hasn't been there before at any political party whatsoever. So again, let me also try to quote you that you said that you are trying so hard to solve the Nigerians' problem. In our country, Nigeria today, people are beginning to, you know, want to ask that your party is representing, what's it called? Is it representing what they believe in terms of your own experience in the state at the moment, currently, when it comes to the present administration? Let me tell you that. How do you want to convince Nigerians that are listening to us right now in terms of the capability of solving the problems with all the experiences that we have that is ongoing at the moment that is not favorable to Nigerians?
Thank you very much. I think you hit it on the head there. All the experiences we have. That's where we're in the problem we have today. That's why we have headaches today. And if a card fails you, it keeps breaking you down, if you don't change it at some point, it's going to kill you. And that's the situation where Nigeria is right now. We need to try out of the box, so to speak, remedies and solutions. These same, over the years we've had, political years of, I think 23 years now or so, we've had APC, PDP interchange, but no change, because it's one party in my own book. The same actors have always gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they've tried, they haven't done it right. If they haven't done it right in 23 years, I don't see how they can fix it going forward. And we're at a very crucial point in our development that something has to change. Now, at PRP, we've always a bottoms-up party. We've always been about the people. Their votes must count, and you're supposed to govern for the people. We tried our hands at state level. We won in '79 in Kano and Kaduna, which includes Katsina and Jigawa today. We've left history of governance, simple governance, but effective governance. And for the first time now, we're bringing it to the center. We're coming in without any legacy issues, no baggages. We can look at things discreetly, objectively, and apply what we think is the solution that helps the people and not just a few. Now, many a times, the more you look into these issues, you find out that the problems are not so much the rhetoric, because what you get is that every political season, every politician comes and says that I'm going to hire 2 million for security, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But nobody has really sat back to look at what we have on ground. Did you ever make it work to start with? And if you made it work, have you built on those institutions to make them stronger and effective? And this is the angle we come from first. Do we have a solution on ground that meets the immediate short-term need and the medium-term need? If there is, harness that. And if there is not, start from scratch. If there is, how do we make it more effective? How do we add value to that to make sure that the impacts are felt right down to the bottom? And that's what we are in PRP. And it helps. It really helps that you don't have a legacy issue. You're not part of that, what I call the poison. You're not the fruit of the poison tree, so to speak. You can come in clean, you can do things right, and do it properly. If I happen to be in any of those parties, I can bet my life that, The sabotage will come from within the party itself. We don't have those issues in PRP, and that helps.
Okay, I would like to know, your last words now that I can pick is you want to come in clean. And having not held any political position over a while, and the PRP is not enjoying so much popularity like I think it should be, looking at the legacies that your father had and the impact of democracy that he had in Nigeria. How are you trying to span this robust, how would I put it now, for lack of a better word, how would you gain popularity, especially amongst the youth of Nigerians, knowing fully well that a lot of people is 500 to 1,000, and once you're ready to throw money around, they are singing your praises? I
think it's a misconception. I think it's a stereotype of PRP. PRP is the longest running party in Nigeria today. It's a 50-year-old party from Aminu Kano. If I want to go back to 1955, it's NEPU that transformed and so on and so forth. So that's number one. We're a very, very rich grassroots party. And a lot of the big names you see from the north, especially in other parties, have their tutelage in PRP. They've gone for obvious reasons, but the grassroots support is still there. That is one thing. Now, secondly, there's this misconception about it being a northern Muslim party. And that is probably one of the things you're alluding to. But the truth of the matter is that if it's that kind of a party, today it's a national party with Kola Abiola from the southwest as the presidential candidate, Harold Zigo Aziz as his vice president, Christian from Kaduna State. And that is a different outlook entirely if you begin to look at the facts. To date, as a party, we have 711 candidates in this race in 2023. We have 23 gubernatorial candidates, 22, and two of them still have got issues to clarify. We have in excess of House of Reps. We have 33 senators running. We have about over 400 running for the House of Reps, not to talk about the state assemblies. So we have the representation. We're a national party, and we're predominantly grassroots. Now, let me break that further. When you look at youth, you spoke about youth. You look at the age group, 18 to what? 35, 40 at least. Okay. If you look at that, dissect that number, and look at the numbers that are vocal on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, and all those things, they are a small percentage of the larger number. Your cook, your driver, your security guard, your Meshai, your Mesuya, they're all in that age group. Yeah. Your maids, if you have maids in there, they're all in that age group. They may not be as vocal as that little percentage that are vocal, but they're youth. That is where PRP is. That is our core. That's what we appeal to as a party and a people. And because we're so grassroots, our methods of reaching them are not that vocal method at times. We have to go to FM radio, which we call ourselves the king of FM radio. We've done a lot of that. We go to local TV. We go to more WhatsApp and to a large extent Facebook. Okay. That is it. So the perception is wrong. Okay. We are out there. We are out there now that we're in the next phase of our campaign program, and there's a little method to our madness here. We're not out there like everybody out at the beginnings and making all that, because we're a grassroots Talakawa party. We are self-funded. We don't have any this, that in our party. So we have to be smart as to we do it. We have built our back office. Our back end is robust. And now we're in the next phase. We're probably about a week too late on that, but it's still good because for once we have an election that is a marathon, not a sprint. In the past you had 3 months to election. We've all had our primaries since April. If you start making that running like a sprint from April, you'll get to a point now that everything, you plateau, you don't have new messages to give everybody. This is the time that you will now see PRP rise.
Okay, interesting.
For me, is I'll come from the angle of, you know, someone once saying that if you say you're a success, you must show your successor. And a whole lot of people have the impression that you're living on the grace of your father, you're living on the glory of your father. And that cannot be taken away. I know your father was a great man.
Alhamdulillah.
So my question would be, how are you intending to, you know, spring yourself out and break away from that success, from that basket of success, and outshine your father's glory, and let that glory be yours, and let people see that you're worthy of that throne?
You know, they say whatever affects the nose affects the face. You cannot remove the nose from the face and not go ugly. The other, so MKO, LKO. Alhamdulillah, I have a father like that. I have such parents. I'm not going to run away from that.
So now the focus is on you.
I have done his bidding. I have made sure I ran, in 1993, I ran that election top to bottom, executed it. To date, still the perfect election in this country. I've fought hard to get a recognition for that election. When 3 years ago, and I thank President Buhari for that, by giving him that national award, GCFR. I have done my bit as a loyal son. I'm at a point now that I'm building for his grandchildren now. And Kola is here to make that difference. I step into this race because I believe everything he stood for, everything we stood for as a family. If Nigeria doesn't prosper, anything happens to Nigeria, it's been a waste. It's a sacrifice that has gone waste. And I'm here to protect that and make sure that our kids, his grandkids, and everybody who is of a younger age have an opportunity to at least decide how they move forward, how they are ruled, and what principles they are ruled on. You see, the ones before us, I am 60 today, and I can tell people, I am in a dead zone. They've eaten up a lot of our time. And now, the last two of them are trying to eat into their time, my kids. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong. And I think, and I dare challenge you, many of, they would, I'm almost sure none of them will come to a debate with us. I'm almost sure of that. But that's a different story entirely. What I am trying to do is to make sure that we can mentor the next generation to governance, into politics and leadership of Nigeria. Let us be the ones. They've tried it and tried and tried. They haven't been able to make it work. Let us be the ones for a change. To try. And let's see whether we won't get it right. And I bet we will.
All right, fantastic. You know, listening to you, and you're talking about the principle of moving the country forward. And of course, when you were speaking earlier, you touched on the North. You know, I actually want to concentrate a little bit on the insecurity that is ongoing at the moment in our country, because you blame lack of coordination among the security agencies for Nigerian insecurity. And I would like you to maybe clarify further, you know, in terms of how the National Security Council actually, you know, can, you know, meet up to address and resolve the insecurity challenges that we have. That is the first question I have for you. The second question, just to manage time, is the fact that, you know, I would like to refer to you as somebody who is rich, you know, rich businessman, you know, by career, obviously, and also, you know, well, it depends on how you want to look at this, you know, and also the fact that you're a reflection of the late Kola Abiola, one of the richest moguls Africa ever produced, you know, and I'm wondering, how do you want us to, or how do you want to replicate, you know, that into the failing economy that is ongoing at the moment in Nigeria? And of course, you know, the fact that it's saddening that a lot of issues are ongoing in terms of trillions of debts, you know, in terms of the dollar exchange of dollar, and of course the rising inflation when it comes to buying and selling, all those people, in terms of ease of doing business, and of course unemployment in Nigeria. How do you want to, you know, find solutions to all of this? Okay,
I'll start with the easiest bit of it. The easiest bit of it is that I started from very humble beginnings. Okay. The numbers and the riches came much later. I started from, yeah, let me leave it at that, humble beginnings. We didn't start out with any gold mine or a dollar tree behind the house. I grew up like any other kid. I went to school like any other person. But the difference I have is the fact that I had a mother that made sure that we were disciplined enough that even when he came, we didn't know it was around. And we all owe her that to date. So, economy or security, where do you want me to start from?
Anywhere you come from.
Good. Security. I hear a lot of numbers going out. Oh, we will recruit 1 million policemen. We will recruit this, recruit that. I hear a lot of talk about state police and so on and so forth. But the truth of the matter is that if you go back and sit back and look at our security architecture, it has never been implemented. Now, everything begins and starts with your National Security Council. It's an 8-member body that includes the Defense Chief, the Internal Affairs, Foreign Affairs, NSA, Internal Affairs, the Vice President, obviously chaired by the President, and I think I'm missing one other person, Police, the IG. Yeah, I think that's it. Now, they are supposed to take impassionate, objective decisions on the security of this country. When you have an expanded security meeting, and you call in, the President calls in his Chief of Staff, his Chief of the Army, and all the chiefs, I think I'm going to tell you that we have failed, sir. I think I'm going to tell you what we have done has gone wrong. But of course, they'll come and paint you with this picture. This is what we need to understand. That body, and I said it then, and it's wrongfully claimed I was wrong, hasn't sat since 1999. All you get is expanded. I mean, it's a jamboree what we're doing with the security of the life of this country. Forgetting that the security impacts the economy.
The economy.
And every other thing we do. Now, before I don't digress into economy, but if you look at security architecture today, you have the SSS, or DSS as they call them now. You have the National Civil Defense Corps, you have the police itself, and you have a few other units. But all these units are all independent. And when I tell you that the Office of the National Security Advisor is the most underutilized office in this country, I mean that. That is where the coordination and discipline should come from. So how do we, if you're going to recruit 1 million staff, it's going to take time. We need solutions now. And what I'm saying is that if you take all these units together, coordinate them, have them on ground, you will have at least 800,000 boots on the ground to support your immediate rescue of security. The last thing I want, and as a PRP government, is to have the military be civilian facing. It is wrong. But unfortunately, we're having the military play the role of the police. When you have all these bodies I told you that can do that job, the SSS, or DSS as I call it today, was supposed to be an equivalent of the FBI. But guess what? They're not doing that. They're predominantly doing state security jobs. There are details to the president, to the ministers, to the VIP. You must have a secret service sector entity for that entirely. But the SS is doing, they're not doing the FBI job, they're doing basically what the police is doing. You have AFCC. ICPC. You have all these units. If you add those units together, that's what I'm telling you, you have your numbers. But all you have to do is to give them the training and training and training. You fortify them with technology and make sure that their welfare is right.
Fantastic.
Okay. Is right. Because with the welfare being right, including insurance, formidable insurance. Look, I've been detained before. I lived in a police station. And I look at the barracks and I look at myself. If these guys are living this way, how are they going to protect you and I? They post policemen, they live in the cars that are impounded.
Abandoned cars.
I was at Club Road for a while. Unfortunately, I was. I think an officer or a constable got shot. The family didn't even know he was shot. Somebody walked in and packed her out of the room. You can't go and cook and say you forgot Maggi or salt. Before you go and come back, and the pot and the stove and everything will disappear.
Take it.
I saw this live. I was detained, so I know it.
All right, I have to interrupt your line of thoughts right now. I know you are sharing a lot of insight to your experience and, of course, the Nigerian Insecurity Council. But we'll have to take a quick break to get a message from our sponsors. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, glad to know you're still with us. In case you just joined the show, today's conversation is about the manifesto, the agenda of the People's Redemption Party, and of course, their presidential candidate has been with us on the live show discussing ideas on security, you know, a new dispensation and economic development as well. And of course, you know, he's been sharing a lot of light on what has been happening in the Nigerian, the National Security Council. And I must say many thanks for all that you've been sharing thus far. But quickly, let me open our phone lines. Remember, you can be part of this conversation by calling the studio number at 08098877400 showing on your screen right now. And yes, we're live on Facebook and of course on YouTube page of Real Talk with Kike and Silverbird platform. Sir, you know, many thanks for all your insights thus far, but I want to quickly, you know, quote you in one of your statements, you know, that I saw online, where you said we represent what it means to be fresh, you know, and also with all that you've shared thus far, you have actually emphasized on that, especially when it takes to ensure that, you know, you are coming behind people who have the opportunity, that wants to decide the destiny of the country that we live in Nigeria today, especially when it comes to the youth. You know, I like the fact that you quoted the age bracket of youth who can actually be part of the people who will decide what will happen in 2023, come 2020. But again, these were your words, you know, in terms of the town hall meeting that I was privileged to also attend as well, you know. So it is entirely radical, you know, for me, you know, as far as I'm concerned. This is my own opinion in terms of you throwing a fresh and clean state in Nigeria without you not, you know, stepping on toes. That's my opinion. So how do you intend to implement your agenda by not stepping on toes and going against the usual business of cabals in Nigeria, knowing that we live in a world where even the Godfather believe that it is their time to actually be in the forefront of the administration of government, the affairs of Nigeria? What's your take on this, sir?
I think it requires us to take our right to vote very seriously.
Okay.
I expect this next election to have the highest voter turnout in the history of this country.
Mm-hmm.
I expect that to be populated by a lot of first-timers, a lot of people who have it but never go out to vote. And I believe with the options they have and the options I give and the options PRP will give, they will know there's a true alternative out there that can make a difference. Now, if you look at the landscape, like I said earlier on, predominantly everybody is a fruit of that poison tree. Whether they've left the party to form their own, or they've left the party to go to
another party.
I mean, Kwakwanzo has been in PDP all his life and decides, okay, I want to go NNPP. Obi has been Abga, been PDP, was vice president in the party before. Right up to a few months before, he was the PDP. And now he's, I mean, are you telling me you're fresh? That's not, you didn't even get it, they didn't get it right even while they were there, and they've been part of it. So they're compromised as far as I'm concerned. They can't bring anything new that they shouldn't have done back then. That's where I stand on that. And like I keep saying, the two other parties, PDP, APC, are the same. There's not really difference in them. If you look at the hierarchy of APC today, it's predominantly ex-PDP people.
Absolutely.
So let us try a new face, new concept, some group that has never been there, that I think are committed to the loyalty of Nigeria. It's about Nigeria first. I am running with PRP, not out of mistake. I looked at the options available. I looked at the only party I could see with any leverage of discipline and loyalty to the grassroots and to the people is PRP, and that's why I'm there. It speaks to my ideology as a person, and that's why I've done this and gone there. And I honestly believe if we get a mandate from the Nigerian population, nothing can stop us. It takes that mandate to make that difference, and it begins there. Number one. Number two, we have thought out what we want to do. We know exactly where we're going. We know how we want to implement it. I dare say that on winning the election, we will announce our ministers immediately because we have done our homework. Now, another good thing about PRP is that because we have never been there nationally, we are at leverage to pick ministers from anywhere, even the existing parties, provided we think they have the caliber it takes, provided we think they are clean enough to understand where we're going. We're not tunnel visioned at all. We can pick from anywhere. And that's another beauty we bring to this table. The objective still remains the same. So
I think the election generally is for Nigerians by Nigerians. Now, during Jonathan's administration, former President Goodluck Jonathan's administration, I remember the slogan very well. It was a breath of fresh air, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, a breath of fresh air. And a lot of Nigerians turned up because he was youth, he was younger, he would have more experience, he would be able to do things. And we saw what the administration ended with, and of course back into this quagmire that we are living in. Do you think Nigerians really believe in this breath of fresh air, or freshness, or newness, as against our old ways of going to the polling booths, getting something for it? And because if we really believe...
Apologies, Dami, I have to interrupt your line of thought. We have a caller on the line that I've been keeping waiting for a while. Sorry, from Anambra State.
My caller from Anambra.
Yeah, many times, but yeah, go ahead. Make your point count, please.
Hello.
Please, can you turn down the volume of your TV set?
Yes, I have already turned it down.
Okay, please.
All right, go ahead, please.
You hearing me now?
Go ahead.
Clearly.
Yes, British. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
About the presidential candidate of PRP.
Sorry,
he has a good agenda for Nigeria. There's my advice for him. Let him join obedience so that they can move Nigeria forward. Thank you, and God bless you.
Should I reiterate what he said? Okay, he said that his advice for you is that you should join the obedience so that you can have a better chance in the 2023 election.
My advice for him is to have the obedience to join me.
Okay. So like my question...
But anyway, I want to address that question for a second. Oh, okay, you finish up that I can take it both because they're intertwined.
Okay, yeah. So my question is that do you really think Nigerians are ready for this breath of fresh air?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You say it was Jonathan, right? It was President Jonathan. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm not, like my kids would say, I'm not trying to diss him in any way. I don't think he was quite prepared for where he found himself. That given, number one. Number two, he was riding the tiger anyway, in APC, PDP. He was riding tiger. He was an innocent person who went into the lion's den, so to speak. And because of that lack of preparedness and the means and ways he actually got to number one, he didn't quite go through the grind, so to speak. And that party itself, because it's a behemoth itself, would sabotage him anyway if he doesn't do what and how they want to do. And he, I don't think, had that mandate either. It's not about mandate, okay? It's still the same set of people that are running these things. We don't have that problem with PRP. I am a clear-cut, not part of that, any of those parties. I've never been a card-carrying member of any party to date, except for this one. Now, as far as what I think works right, I am here for everybody. We're here to run this for everybody. Let us go ahead and decide on election day how we want to make it work. I'm not here I think we're past the point where we speak to A, B, speak to B. The race is on. All this we should have done way before.
Apologies, I have to interrupt your line of thought again. We have a lot of calls coming in, you know, and it's unfortunate that we can't pick all. But we have Pastor Longwo from Lagos calling in. Please, I would appreciate if you can just go straight to the to your question or your inquiries. Are you there? All right, apologies, I have to let that go. Sir, we are running out of time right now, and from what you shared at the moment, your last submission, you know, I can't help but ask you on the fact that a suit is seeking your validation in what's it called, in People's Redemption Party, you know, and knowing that you are the presidential candidate and it has been on and it's been transferred at the moment to the task force of judges as of yesterday's news that I caught up with. So now I would like to ask you, sir, this suit, you know, involves your party, PRP, and of course the independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, as well, have also come out in person to come and put in one or two words. But how are you handling this? And how is your party also responding to the suit in a way that is not going to affect you going forward, especially come 2023? We are ably represented both by the party and the candidate, and I trust the hands that are involved. I am not worried about that. The rules are the rules. It's a pity that it's just going to be prolonged now that we have this task force on political cases. If we had continued with the process as is, we would have been able to bring it to a close much earlier. But right now, it's been adjourned again till that task force comes to sit and put in place. And it hasn't been assigned then, which further just prolongs the process. So no, there's no worry about that from my point. The party is very much on top of that. Okay, many thanks for that response. Unfortunately, this is where we wrap up this segment. We are moving on to the last segment of the show that we call Trending Story, story that binds us together. I wanted to hit the economy a bit, but you know, we definitely will bring you back. You know, stories that affect us as Nigerians. Please. And the first trending story that caught our attention is that of the EFCC that filed for an appeal against Bawa, you know, in terms of the committal of contempt. Marshall, let me come to you quickly on this. What's your take on this trending story?
Okay. Yeah, so when the story grated a few days back, it raised some eyebrows and a lot of dust, because to see the ruling or judgment that would remand the EFCC boss to prison, it seemed it was like a melodrama to so many Nigerians. But I mean, it is what it is. There is nobody who's above the law, and if you flout the rules, you should be called out. And who best to call you out than the people who interpret and minister these rules, the court. And I feel there was ample of time for them to have attended to that ruling that was given that led to a contempt. Whether or not he should be remanded or so. And then the funny thing I hear, sir, the funny thing I have about this is as if he is being appealed to bring himself to the prison. Not to court now, to prison. And I expect that if he was an ordinary man who was remanded exactly, he shouldn't have been, the bailiff or whoever was responsible should have taking him from there to the prison and then let the lawyers continue speaking their jargons in the judiciary parlance or corridors of the court. So that's for me. All right. Can I just say something on that? Yeah. Right. You see, goes to show you what I mean by the arrogance of power. And there's a lot of political arrogance out there. The law is the law. We're all subject to it. And when we say the judiciary should be independent, that's what we're talking about. You must be and must respect the rule of law. Nobody's above it, including the Mr. President. But we have this attitude. It's sort of like when President Obasanjo was president and they impeached all these governors without following the rule of law. But they all came back. You put shame to the law by not allowing it to take its course, by thinking you can bulldoze your way. All those governors came back, Darie, Ladoja in Ibadan and so on. They all came back. Obi in Nanga.
because they did not go through the law. They didn't follow the step. You can't just bulldoze yourselves. And that's why I keep saying, some people will tell me, well, this immunity to governors, it should be taken. It should never be taken away. We're not mature enough to handle these things.
All right.
And so on.
You know, many thanks for your submission. You know, I like a lot of things that Marshall shared during his own submission of this trending story. But you know, when it comes to AFCs, they are addressing the issue from a sentimental point of view. And you know, I like to keep it real on this platform. I may not be inclined to think of all the good EFCC is doing in my country, but I personally, I have enjoyed, you know, I have benefited from EFCC personally. They have helped me against fraudsters, you know, and of course when it came to the office of the Abdul Rashid Bawa, of course, you know, which I just feel that was also part of the team that helped me, and I give them in high esteem when it comes to, you know, professionalism. However, you know, I just feel that coming from a realistic point of view on this topic at hand, I just, you know, I've read the case, and the court charging the EFCC boss, you know, for contempt was because of the fact that the agency failed, you know, to do the bidding, you know, of the court. And of course, a certain man who had a lawsuit against EFCC as well won his case, and the court ordered EFCC to return all his assets, you know, and the cars and the likes and all that. And this shouldn't actually take long, if you ask me. And listening to our guest as well, I cannot help but to butcher the fact that, you know, I feel that nobody is above the law. This is where I'm driving my point to. We should be quick to obey the law of this country, in this country, Nigeria. When will we rule out the law, where places of us correcting and reforming our characters or our actions are not being obeyed is some of the things that I actually do not find it very, you know, so unfortunate that is happening during our time. And of course, in the administration that I've once said that when it comes to justice, you know, the justice system will not become useless during their own administration. But look at what is happening at the moment in terms of impunity in the country by our leaders, and of course the people who are in the harm of our administration. You know, I cannot help but keep emphasizing on what Marshall have said in terms of nobody is above the law, which you have also said, sir, you know. But let Abdul Rashid Bawa, if he's listening, if he's watching, which I pray that I will receive a call after this, please obey the law. If not for anything, at least, you know, the appealed to the rule of contempt. Let's see the outcome of his appeal. Let's, you know, let him stand where he can say that, okay, no, I'm not disobeying the rule of law, and I'm going to do what is right, and shun all that has been going on in terms of the sanity of the country. But quickly, let's move on, you know, to the second trending story. I hope we have enough time before they start running commentary in my ears. The second trending story that caught our attention is that of the PDP crisis, you know. You know, which I want to quote Bala Mohammed. We say I share something in common with anti-Atiku governors. You know, Dami, let me come to you on this. What's your take, Doswa?
Just like our presidential candidate of the PRP said, it's just recycling and recycling the same old people, the same people, not old in age, I mean, the same people who have been in government over time and over time. And also one word that you use, sabotage. There will always be a sabotage somewhere. So if they do not like Atiku, or they feel that, oh, they have something against, contempt against him, I just think it's the same rigmarole rolling over and over again. There's nothing that is new. We've seen it before. It's happened before. It's happening again. And it will still happen in years to come. So that's just my take on it. You
know, with what you've just shared, Damilola, you know, I know that the governors of the G5, that they like to refer themselves as, you know, they call themselves as the integrity group, so to speak. In my head, I'm just wondering, this already means that they have formed a fraction of their own party, and they've divided the party further. You know, the handwriting is clear on the wall. They don't even agree with Atiku in the first place. And their tone in terms of Kike coming out, when I listen to most of his speeches, I just feel that it's just PR, because the governor of Bauchi, Bawa Mohammed himself, has said that because in politics you go with the people that you share something in common with, and the presidency that they ran for were not, as far as that concerned, said they are brothers, you know, and brothers who have defeated, and he has defeated him, and it has brought them closer. In my head, I'm listening to him, I'm wondering, he has defeated, and that has brought you guys closer. You know, we have something in common in this country when it comes to when we see that there's an issue. You know, we tend to feed on those issues, and I feel that that's exactly what Kike have done. So it's obvious that we actually have challenges when it comes to anti-party, treachery, and of course mischief in our political parties, and we know that in politics the number of is about numbers, and people are always behind that game of numbers and try to look for how to amass those numbers. However, this is unfortunate that the party have given us a picture. When I say a picture, I'm talking about what is the national picture of all these shenanigans that they've been showing us thus far. And I'm wondering, is this a show of leadership, Damilola? Because in my head, I'm thinking it's not even a show of unity with all that is going on at the moment. So can Nigerians see what is happening in terms of the kind of divide that they are bringing into the country? Is this the kind of people we even want to vote into the power in the first place when it comes to how they are trying to bring about ethnicity divide and religious and all sorts of sentimental lines that are being crossed at the moment?
I think you're campaigning for
it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate right now that we should just get our axes together, and they need to get their axes together. Let Nigerians have a fresh air to discuss our ideas and discuss, without partisanship and the likes and all of that. So it's just unfortunate that I cannot get your submission on this because they've started running commentary on here. We have to go now. Indeed, we have an awesome show. Courtesy our resourceful guest, Mr. Kola Abiola. Many thanks for all that you've shared thus far on this platform. Many thanks for creating time to be here. It really means a lot to us. This is where I draw the curtains of the show. So we'll see you next week. Please be kind and be safe to one another. Bye now.
Thank you very much. Well,